Okay, so this is kind of a weird one. How do you think Donald Trump feels about Jews? Folks, believe it or not, it's not actually good for your mental health to consume political news nonstop 24/7, especially in fraught times like these, and then not actually do anything about it. You know, you're just sitting there, you're thinking, what are you doing? I've got good news for you. Progressive Victory right now is gunning up for a big event October 5th and 6th in Wisconsin, canvassing for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, our preferred candidate for the presidency and vice presidency, if you didn't know. And they're doing phone banking and canvassing all over the country, okay? Basically what I'm saying is you should check out Progressive Victory's activities, you know? Pinned comment down below. I know you're thinking I'm busy, I don't want to do it, it's going to be difficult. I get so many people saying it's better than they think it's going to be. It's good. At least take a look. There's a lot going on. Maybe you think, oh, I'll contribute an hour a week, and then it turns out, you know, maybe you contribute 2 hours. You're having so much fun. Just give it a look. Donald Trump is a fascist, I think, mostly by convenience. I don't think that Donald Trump is an ideological fascist, you know? If you locked Donald Trump in a room and gave him a truth serum, I don't think he would self-describe as a fascist. I don't think that he would agree with the ideological positions of fascism. I think he's a fascist of circumstance. I think he's a fascist in what he does, not in what he believes, which is fine. Right? Like, there's nothing about being a fascist that necessitates that you be like, ah, yes, I logically adopt the precepts of fascism. Much in the same way that if a guy was like, yes, I want to abolish the commodity form and also democratize the workplaces, they wouldn't have to call themselves a socialist to be one. You know, it's not... it's unlike gender, it's not entirely a matter of self-identification. So, how does he feel about the Jews? Well, I think that Donald Trump is an old school anti-Semite, right? We have some bits and pieces of him being anti-Semitic in the past, like saying he thinks Jews make good accountants or whatever. But I think for him, that's it, right? He's a rich real estate billionaire from New York. He probably grew up with lots of Jews. It's New York, right? And I imagine he thinks of them as like Tweedly little Poindexters who do math good. Genuinely, I don't think that he has internalized the rhetoric of an ideological fascist or Nazi. Does that make sense? Now, maybe I'm completely incorrect on this. Maybe there's some piece of evidence I'm unfamiliar with, and if I looked at it, I would go, oh no, wow, he's like ideologically against Jewish people, you know? But I haven't seen it. What I have seen recently are a couple of wacky clips. You seen these?
But I will put it to you very simply and gently. I really haven't been treated right, but you haven't been treated right because you're putting yourself in great danger, and the United States hasn't been treated right. So if I don't win this election, and I've been very good, you know, they say Trump's been right about everything. I've been right about a lot of things. Even Ted will admit that. I've been right about a lot of things that a lot of people said, no, that won't happen, but a lot of bad things happened, and some good things I've been right about, too.
Leave aside the fact that he is, like, genuinely completely incoherent, even beyond the extent to which Biden was. Like, Biden sounded old and raspy, but if you took what Biden said and flattened it into text, it would make sense. Donald Trump, even when flattened into text, does not make sense. The words he strings together don't make sense.
Too, and I only want to be, so I'm not going to call this as a prediction, but in my opinion, the Jewish people would have a lot to do with a loss if I'm at 40%. If I'm at 4, think of it, that means 60% are voting for Kamala, who in particular is a bad Democrat.
He's referring to the estimation that 60% of Jews in the United States intend to vote for Kamala Harris, which to me is still a pretty damn bad indictment of the state of that community, considering the fact that I'm pretty sure, like, in 2008 and even 2016, the margins would have been much more Democratic leaning. So it's like, it really is Israel. It really is Israel.
The Democrats are bad to Israel, very bad. They'll never change because they have a section of their party now which has become amazingly and quickly very powerful vote-wise. I mean, Chuck Schumer is a Palestinian. Who would have thought that was going to happen? What the hell happened to him? I saw him the other day. He was dressed in one of their robes. Now, that'll be next.
So, yeah, this is the level we're on, I suppose. By the way, I don't know if you caught that line there. If we lose this election, Jews will be in part to blame. A line so nice he actually used it twice. Here's him at a different event with the Israeli-American Council.
I wasn't treated properly by the voters who happen to be Jewish. I don't know, do they know what the hell is happening? If I don't win this election, and the Jewish people would really have a lot to do with that if that happens, because at 40%, that means 60% of the people are voting for the enemy.
The enemy. The lines are almost the same, but he does repeat himself quite a bit. I think that Donald Trump sees Jews as a group that he can appeal to for easy claps, right? Like when he moved the embassy into Jerusalem, when he, everything that he said about the IDF and about Israel. It's just like, oh, there's a group of Jewish Americans who, as long as you are pro-Israel, you can say anything. No, that's my point, Benjamin. He has talked about Jews, Donald, I mean, and he has said, like, if I lose, the Jews are going to be partly responsible. But weirdly, because of who Donald Trump is, it's not actually that anti-Semitic? You get me? Like, don't get me wrong, it is, and he is. But I've seen a lot of people covering this like it's him being a Nazi. Like, white people happy. If you question mark me one more goddamn time, I am sending your ass straight into the abyss, okay? Your lungs will burn from the air of the abyss. Your eyes will pop witnessing it. Okay, I don't want to... You gonna question mark me? Let me finish the point! A lot of people have been covering this as, like, Donald Trump says if he loses, it will be the Jews. And I think that that is a literal description of what he said. I don't think that it's, what would I say, spiritually correct? Because the implication is that Donald Trump believes there is a Jewish conspiracy to deny him a win in the election, which is not true. He doesn't believe that. Does that make sense? I'm not here defending Trump. It's just interesting to me that because the language and the dog whistles that people use with regards to Jewish people are so developed and so cemented and all over the GOP, it's a weird example of how the guy on the front of the whole thing, he would say, like, if this rhetoric would come out of somebody like Laura Loomer or Matt Gaetz or Ron DeSantis or something, I think it would, like, the context would be very, it's just interesting to me, I suppose. It's just interesting to me. Donald Trump doesn't care about Jews, but I think that's just that. He doesn't really care about Jews. You know, he wants them as a group to vote for him. That's it. He's anti-Semitic in the way, in like a casual, offhanded, like wave of the hand way, not in a all the world's problems are the cause of Jews kind of way. It's interesting. I mean, it's still a wild thing to say. I don't see it. I don't know what you don't see. Do you think that in this clip or in these clips, Donald Trump is insinuating that there is a international cabal of Jewish people that are conspiring him to deny him the win? Because that's the implication when most people would say, if I lost, it would partly be due to the Jews. They wouldn't say partly. I feel like I'm an auteur. I'm misunderstood in my own time. My paintings will sell for billions after I have passed. Are you listening to me? He just thinks all Jewish Americans should support a bigger Zionist shill. Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, he's basically saying like, I've been such a simp for Israel and all that, and you still won't vote for me. That's what he's saying. I think. You know, I've pressed on this point so aggressively, and you're still not kowtowing to it? Come on, be real. There are a lot of Jews in America who are... This is a conversation we're going to have to reckon with one of these days. It's a difficult conversation for much the same reason that, as I said earlier, you talk about, like, black people in schools bullying other black people in a way that isn't exceptional or unique to black people, but if you talk about it, white racists come out and they start being freaks about it. You know what I mean? Whereas in the same way, you know, there are a lot of supremacist Jews in America, you know? Like, of course there are. There are supremacist Muslims and Christians. Why wouldn't there be Jews? Obviously. And a lot of them are militant hardline Zionists. You know, it's not all like Christian like, you know, the Christian Zionism, even though that's definitely the majority of it in America, because Christians are much more powerful than Jews in America and everywhere else. I think most Jewish Zionists in America, though, I don't think they're ideologically fascist in the way that some of them are, or ideologically supremacist. I think a lot of them just genuinely have bought into the fear-mongering about how Jews can never be safe unless Israel exists. A point undercut by everything Israel is and does, but, you know, Trump's been citing bad polls this entire election cycle, giving him 10 points more than what the real polls are saying. Yeah, that tracks. He says the Jewish community is voting for him 40-60. In reality, it's 30-70. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. A lot of them go on a propaganda trip to Israel. Yeah. We need a birthright trip, except it's for people with septum piercings and blue hair, and they go to like the Zapatistas or something. We need our own cultural project. They'd go to Portland, let's be real. Well, I just went to Portland, and I have neither blue hair nor a septum piercing. Feeling weirdly contemplative. I feel like for the most part, I approach this profession of mine, this extremely esteemed profession, with a decent amount of levity. I try not to take it too seriously. I think the subject material is very serious, but if you take if I take, I suppose, my engagement with it too seriously, I think it leads you down a bad road. In terms of your thought process, you have to maintain a degree of levity. And I feel a little weightless right now, not just because your boys lost a bunch of weight, but we really are up in it, aren't we? I mean, it was big back in 2020, but the Republicans have learned their lesson. They're not going to win without Trump unless democracy isn't a thing. I mean, we really are up against it, you know? It ain't good. Like 285 Peter Flame, I think. You're making a living, no blame here. Oh, I don't mean to imply that I don't take seriously like the work or the content or anything. You know, again, it's just you have to approach this job, I think, with an attitude that is at least a little bit like that of a whimsical Shaolin monk, or a blacksmith on a mountaintop who is visited very, very infrequently by townsfolk who bring him provisions in exchange for, farm tools made to the precision of NASA machinery. You know, you need it. There has to be a bit of whimsy. You have to be a little kooky with it. If you're not a little kooky with it, you lose your damn mind. Right now, it seems like everyone's falling to Polymarket. You know, I get pitches from them, and they're minions, respectfully to the people who have made pitches to me while being a minion of the Polymarket. The Peter Thiel political gambling site that's been folding a bunch of content creators in. You know, a bunch of people are being sponsored by them now. All of it goes right up to Peter Thiel. Oh, gambling? It's everyone. The Young Turks have been got. Everyone's been got. It's the Polymarket. I just said it's a political gambling site. I mean, they do a lot of stuff, I guess. They're building... I have a feeling that within a few years, a significant portion, both left and right, of online political content creation is going to be sponsored or owned by the Polymarket. It's going to be like one gigantic, octopus with an arm in every channel. Advice on avoiding becoming too cynical. Seems so hard to exist these days without finding out someone you heard in a podcast is actually a grifter. Just watch all of my content, since I'm the only non-grifter in the space. It's pretty much the only way. It is this way already with YouTube Sports. Yeah, but the problem with the Polymarket isn't just that it's political gambling. It's that it looks like a significant amount of the so-called independent political punditry online is all going to be owned or sponsored by a massive, shadowy, company that is essentially controlled by a fascist billionaire, which would be not good. Yeah, it's the consolidation of media power. I mean, they got all of radio and TV. Eventually, they have to get all the internet, too. The fascist who owns J.D. Vance, yeah. I'm nothing if not authentic, Smolchan. Kyle said independent media is worse than mainstream media. And in a lot of cases, yeah, that is true. God willing, if I ever do accept the sponsorship, it's for something totally innocuous, No, it's such intention at the moment, though. Black Rifle Coffee? True. I mean, dude, in terms of, how morally wrong it is, being sponsored by, Raid Shadow Legends is 50 times better than being sponsored by the Polymarket. Are you kidding me? Gacha games are pretty low down on the evil totem, on the scale compared to shadowy consolidation of independent media from a billionaire techno-fascist. Not a buzzword, it's a company, nuts. Gacha. Gacha. G-A-C-H-A. White people happy.